Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Stick to Water Polo, episode 6, and we're going to have a look at the Australia v Canada game last night. I'm Mike Westhorpe and joined by Debbie Watson. For those that don't know, Olympic gold medalist from Sydney 2000. And someone said to me the other day, Deb, you're not introducing people properly. I go, well, everyone knows who we are, don't they?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's better to be anonymous.
The girls got up last night, 10-7 the final score. Before we go into the game, oddness at the end, we shot, scored 11-7, go back to halfway, restart, full time comes, and they go into a short VAR and they take the goal off. And I understand the VAR is there for goal, no goal. I just would have thought they would review that at the time. The shot was thrown, I'm not sure who it was now. Might have been Abby Andrews. Yeah, Abby Andrews. Yeah, threw the shot, buzzer beater sort of shot. Did it leave a hand before the clock got to zero? That's what they check. I kind of think you'd check that at the time and not restart and then go to full time and then take a goal off. It was a little bit odd, but it doesn't change the result of the game.
No, it definitely doesn't change the result. But you're right, it is it's Olympic Games, so you're expecting perfection from the athletes and also from the officials as well. I feel, like I don't understand how it went for so long. Like, why was there even a restart if it was so close to the timing? Doesn't make sense at all. That can have a massive impact. And again, Abby would love that goal on her scorecard for sure. Doesn't impact the final result, but they definitely need to tidy that up because that could be critical in a bigger game.
Well, you would think if that was a 1-goal game and that shot was thrown, they'd review that straight away.
You would think so, but I don't understand.
Sure.
Well, I get that part, but obviously they thought there was lots of time left on the clock because they went all the way back, and then the ball was in the, it played. It wasn't like it was just the, 0.01 on the clock or anything. It seemed to be a tiny bit more time than that.
10, 12 seconds, 15 seconds in the game.
Yeah, it was bizarre. So yeah, I'm not really sure on the understanding. I don't really understand how that really happened.
Well, I think the VAR technology is good. I think it's still evolving. And they're probably looking at other sports and the way, maybe football does it. In Australia here, obviously the rugby league, the bunker is full of controversy where people look at it and get a different view. But I think for that goal, no goal, I get when maybe there's a save and they're not sure the ball's gone over the line and the play goes on and they go off and counter-attack and they come back another attack and then they go back and have a look and they go, oh, it actually went over the line, so we're going to give the goal. I kind of get that. But I think it was just odd. It just seemed odd that it happened after full time.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, look, it's definitely got a place. If you get a corner and then, it's not rewarded and then the opposition go up the other end and score, then you can actually review that as well. Actually, Joe Clark did that beautifully, World Junior Champs last year. And, we got the ball back and then we ended up scoring. It would have been the old two-goal turnaround. So there's definitely a place, but we've seen it in the sports, in rugby league, for example. You just get lost in the bunker sometimes. And, another example of it not being used properly was Australia and France the other night when Lockie Edwards had the swipe at him, maybe a punch even, and that was just a play on. That should have been looked at as well. He was sent out the night before or the game before for the headbutt or backwards movement rather than it being a headbutt. So we've got to, if we're using it, we have to use it properly, but it definitely needs really strict parameters, I think. Otherwise the game's just going to go on and get a bit messy.
Yeah, I think with the Lockie one, there was sort of 2 moments and they reviewed the wrong one.
Yes.
There was one earlier, maybe 2 or 3 minutes earlier, where it looked like a clear strike. And if you watch highlights and replays, you can sort of see it. And, we can't say we're experts from here, from watching on TV. Yeah, Lockie certainly, I think, was hard done by on that one.
Well, again, that could have been, that's a red, that's a roll out of there.
Yeah,
that can,
I think it would have just
make
been
a big difference as well.
Just exclusion with replacement.
Yes.
Well, that's still the other odd one we've seen, isn't it, Deb?
Yeah.
A player gets fouled out on 3 fouls and it comes up as, violent action excluded with replacement, which is not correct anyway. I think graphics people have not quite got the graphics lined up correctly.
Yeah, well, we are in contact with Harks, pushing some information through to him, and he is trying to get those things tidied up. It'd be nice to even just have who the player is that's excluded and how many fouls they're on, and just a couple of shot clock could be good, and little, another little graphic down the bottom. It's brilliant, of course, and we're so lucky to have it on, just whenever we want to watch, and of course live. But we want it to be presented, as well as they have in the past.
Well, because, this is an opportunity for our sport and many Olympic sports to get themselves out to a broader public. And so it's important, we know a lot about the game and we've played all our life and refereed and, whatever. So the little intricacies. And if you're watching at home and you don't know much about the game, you're going to get a bit confused and go, what's happening with this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when I watch, I get confused, just
I'm
knowing the
confused all
game
the time,
and thinking,
Deb.
what was that all about? But yeah, no, you're right. And it's such a great opportunity to promote the game with both the Stingers and Sharks doing so.
Yeah, it is indeed. So let's dive into the game itself. Canada, an interesting outfit to play against. If you give them a sniff, they're going to give you a game. And I felt like we gave them a bit of a sniff early and they went with us for a while. Third quarter was the big difference for us. We pulled away there. But 1-1 in the first and then 4-2 at half time. And Canada were head and shoulders into the game.
Yeah, they definitely were. Like both teams were struggling finishing early on in the game, taking lots of the longer shots. There was, solid defense, both teams struggling to get the ball into their centre forward with quality, and usually when that happens, it's because of the zone defense coming back and the outside shooters come in a little bit closer, but neither team really seemed to be, singing, I suppose, early in the game. It was it was just a real grind for both teams, I think. They obviously knew what's at stake. It's so important and just lots of scrambling. So yeah, I feel like it took both Australia certainly a time to get their mojo happening, I suppose. But finally when they did, it started to look pretty good for them.
Yeah, I thought we scored I think the third quarter we scored a really good 6-on-5 goal, but outside I think we were 1 for 7 at extra. It looked like it was just struggling to get going, and defensively we were good. Disrupting the Canadian 6-on-5. They didn't have very good stats as well, and it's such an important part of the game these days. I think the tournament's running. I looked yesterday, maybe before today's. The tournament's running overall for every team at about 50% conversion rate. So
Yeah.
If you score half your 6-on-5s, you have a real chance of winning a game.
Yeah, I think it's been really low, hasn't it, for all teams, and particularly in the women's comp. And, for Australia only getting 1 from 6, again, it's one of those things. We weren't very good, but thankfully the opposition weren't very good either. And extra man defence that the Canadians play, where they drop the player back, they hold in a traditional format and then they come into goals. And it just things like that. If you haven't, if you're not really thorough on all of your tactical information, like there's so much to get through. You've got to have plays for when the goalkeeper comes down, when there's 2 seconds left on the clock, when there's one player goes back into goals, 2 players go back into goal. You've got to work through all of those things, and you've got to have different people in different positions so that your actual training has to be so thorough tactically, because you've got to be able to adjust and think on your feet. You can't wait till the next break to get the pearls of wisdom from your coaches. That obviously they'll be working really hard in the rooms, in the boardroom, I suppose, in their tactical meetings from now on. And, those things we've got to get on top of and, take advantage of. But yeah, it's interesting, just those little disruptors. It's great tactically to see that from other teams. The Dutch do things like that really well against us as well. So eventually, we did started shooting better. We started coming in closer, better ball movement, which was really good. Yeah, so there were lots of promising signs to see as well.
Well, Beck was over it because in one of the timeouts, the camera went obviously to her and you had the audio, and she was saying, we've got a 6-on-5. If they drop the 2 players back into the goals with the goalkeeper, we're going to do this. If they don't do that, we're going to go to here. So she was sort of talking to the players about different scenarios that might come up in the 6-on-5, because Canada, that's a classic tactic for them. They drop the 2 players back on the goal line, the 6-on-5, and they also do it in general play where late in the shot clock, they'll just drop a second, like a player back into the goals with the goalkeeper, and it just disrupts the attack. And everyone's like, hang on a minute, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
and they've done
sure.
it for a number of years. It's a clever tactic to just pull out every now and then.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you do, right? And also, we haven't seen a rush yet. I'd be, you can throw that in as well. And if you haven't done all of that preparation, and I suppose this comes back to your programs at home. Okay, who's teaching the athletes what? At the institutes, are we teaching them tactics? Are we expecting club coaches? As a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, you should know how to play against lots of different variations rather than just preparing to win. And I don't know the answer. We discuss these things all the time, but you've got to be thinking that sort of water polo IQ should be a given by the time you're getting into a senior national team, that you know how to play against a wing drop, that you know how to play against a rush, a drop back, all of that sort of stuff. Your time together is limited, and you've got to hope that your players come well prepared.
Yeah, that tactical side of it, I guess. I mean, in an ideal world, you have a system, an Australian system, and it's filtered down through all the clubs. Like, I know some clubs have a system they play, and it filters down from their AWL team right through to their under 12s, and they're taught from under 12. This is the way we play the game. This is our sort of style. I don't know if we have that nationally. I know we don't have that nationally, where we're saying this is the sort of way we want to play the game.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, and it's sort of been hitting us in the face for a few years, because at the Tokyo Olympics for the women, like we didn't really know how to play against a wing drop. And you sort of should be learning how to play a wing drop when you're 14 or 15. So just those sorts of things, I think we really have to, it just takes away a little bit where the girls are having to scramble a lot more and use a lot more energy just trying to, and their scrambling is unbelievable. They're working really hard, which is, and they're getting the wins, which is just incredible. But, it's a bit costly energy wise as well. Can make it a little bit more difficult then to remain really sharp for your shooting. And, the tournament's still got a long way to go as well. So, they've got to try and, win prettier almost, but not as in, I'm not talking, just more structured, I suppose, and just being in the right spot rather than having to scramble for each other all the time.
Yeah, player rotation. We were talking about that before we came on, and I think I sent you a message last night at 9-4 at three-quarter time going into the last quarter. Was it an opportunity to give Jen Longman some time? Was it an opportunity to give Sienna Hearn a bit more time? I mean, there's an anomaly there in the stats where on the start list, Hearn's got 5 minutes 13. In the result sheet, she's got 4 minutes 50. And in the cumulative stats, she's got 4 minutes and 8. So there's a couple of weird things going on there. And also, it's not registered. She scored 2 goals in the penalty shootout, and she's got no Olympic goals. I mean, as a player, I want my stats. I want to be recognised for that. And same with Longman. No save percentages. She goes in the penalty shootout and saves 3 of them. I want that on my stats.
Yeah, you'd like to think that they'll eventually, World Aquatics will get that all happening, because it is important and it is something to look at, in future as well. Just back to that scrambling, though, the one thing that we did do really well was every time Canada got the ball, they were under pressure, and it then made Canada look like their ball skills weren't so fantastic. And, obviously they are very good, but just that constant pressure, having to race out and scrambling and people coming at you from all different angles, they just, it made them sort of just untidy in their catching, their passing and their shooting. And that's, brilliant work by the Aussies to do that, because it, obviously went a long way to securing the victory.
Yeah, as I said, you give them a sniff. They're a team that'll go with you and give you a tough game. I saw them in the Pan American final against the US, and that was the qualifying game for Paris. They went down, but they went with America for about 2.5 to 3 quarters, and they really gave them a really solid game. Then the US class just came through. And, of course, Canada get here on the back of South Africa deciding not to fund their athletes to come. So, I mean, they're a worthy team. They're a good side.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And, they've got a real mixture of older and younger players in there as well. And, the Serena Brown, she's only 20, I think. And, she had a very quiet first quarter, and then she started to come alive in a couple of really good drives. And, they put up a really good performance, but it was just that, real scrambling defence and immense pressure the Aussies put them under, that got them over the line today.
Yeah, so the Australians, Bronte Halligan got 3, and she played a lot of minutes and looked really good. Not only in attack, she did everything around the pool. She was like the the utility player. She was the defender. She was the centre back. She was just doing whatever needed to be done. I think it was a terrific game by her last night.
Yeah, it was incredible, actually. She looked pretty blown at the end of the game. You just see it in her face. She's working so hard, and she does so much off the ball, Bronte, as well. But yeah, her up and back and centre, just everywhere she was last night. She had an amazing game. And her shooting was great.
Back to my point of player rotation. Canada came back a little bit, made it a bit tighter in the fourth quarter because I think a few players were gassed. And maybe that was an opportunity early in the fourth to give a couple of the other players a bit more minutes. Got to get in, just hold and do your stuff, and they get the big players back in again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting too. Like you've got Tilly in particular. Like she's working really hard, but she has not had anything go her way so far this tournament. And sometimes that's just the way it is. And you just know, Chucky also did some really good driving, and just her finishing off didn't quite happen for her last night. And you can just see like they're toiling and they're working so hard that you think surely something's just going to go for them, and they're going to end up getting the kickouts are going to end up getting the goals, and that's what they're working so hard towards.
Yeah, well, Tilly is earning penalties, so she's doing the role these days of a centre forward is, yes, you've got to score goals, but the kickouts and the penalties are of equal importance to me, because you get a ball into the centre, you're going to get a reward now in international polo. Centre forward's going to score, or you're going to get a kick out, or they're going to turn, they're going to get a penalty. So very few minor fouls, ordinary fouls at centre forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, just the way with the extra man attack is going, and this is for all teams, you're all almost wanting those penalties to come your way rather than the extra man at the moment. But yeah, they're working really hard in there, and just and it goes for the opposition as well. They're really not. The zone is so far back; it's very difficult to get the ball in with any great space. It has to be really accurate, and just the nature of how the ball's been delivered over the last season or so in the women's polo. The ball is coming in really fast and hard, and just with that immense pressure, it's really difficult to do a lot with the ball.
Yeah, it's the great pass into the centre usually makes the play, doesn't it? Whereas right in that reach zone, it's almost like it sticks in the centre forward's hand, and then you've got the opportunity to make something happen. Anyway, so moving on, Abby Andrews a couple last night, Charlize Andrews a goal, Alice Williams got a triple, and Tilly on the score sheet as well. So some nice shooting from the Andrews girls and Alice Williams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, they really did have to work very hard in their attack and to get the ball in. Just defensively, though, because I do love a good defender. I thought Ellie Armit was way better at, in centre back. She seemed to have more time in the water as well, and she made it really difficult, pushed really hard. I thought Gabby was really strong in goals as well. Yeah, so I thought, there was lots of good things to see all the way around the pool last night. The Sienna Green, wow, what a tournament.
Oh, yeah. She's just
so
getting
good.
better with every game. I mean, she's a young player. She's got a really bright future. She's just hit the ground running.
Yeah, and you can see how much fun she's having as well, which is really nice. Like you've got to enjoy the game as well. So I really like to see her with her little smiles when she's done something good. It's great.
She got the long arm in there on the rebound last night and got the penalty, won the penalty. Because her arm was maybe half an arm longer than everyone else's, and just got to the ball first, and the ref went, we'll give a penalty for that one.
Yeah, Johnny on the spot, or Sienna on the spot.
It's fantastic. Look, it wasn't a pretty win, but it's a win, and it's the most important thing is to get the W on the score sheet, on the results sheet, and just set yourself up for your next game. They'll play, our women play Hungary on Sunday, 4th of August at 10 o'clock. Another tough encounter.
Oh, this is potentially the most important game that they're going to play. So my understanding is if they win and Holland or the Dutchies win, they'll finish second. Australia will finish second in the crossover. And if they don't beat Hungary, they will finish third. And
you want to avoid Spain or USA in the crossover, because Spain on top at the moment, USA 17-5 over France overnight. They've obviously they poked the bear the other day when they lost to Spain, and they beat Italy 10-3 and France 17-5. So,
there's a big difference, isn't there? Yeah, there's a big difference on the other side, or a big gap, whereas our pool side is a little bit tighter up the top for sure. So it's going to be a fascinating game against Hungary. Australia absolutely got the potential to win this game. They just need to remain calm, just, tactically stick to what they're doing. They're going to have to scramble hard as well again, but just, that calmness would be fantastic to see, particularly in that first quarter. It's going to be a humdinger of a game.
It is. And that penalty shootout result, obviously we got the win. Normally you get 3 for a win, 0 for a loss. We win in penalty shootout, we get 2 points, and the Dutch get 1 point. So it just throws the table into a bit of, not disarray, but just makes it more interesting.
Yeah, I like it actually. I think it sort of it's clearer, right, to see
It rewards
what it
you.
is.
It
does
rewards you
reward
for
you.
playing right through to the end.
Yeah, no, I do. I quite like it. So it just opens it up and it takes away that whole having to, beat a particular team by 15 goals or more or whatever. I don't like seeing that really anyway. It's sort of better to be working on what you need to be working on. I think it's a positive for sure.
And we have a very rich tradition of tight games against Hungary at the Olympics. We beat them, I think, for bronze medals a couple of times in penalty shootouts. They got us in a penalty shootout, I think, in or maybe Tokyo. I can't remember anyway. So they got one back on us, but it's always tight.
Yeah, and they sort of can be a little bit hot cold to the Hungarians, which are interesting. Sometimes they just shoot the cover off the ball, and other times, they can be a little bit, sort of willy-nilly, I suppose. They had an excellent result against the USA only a couple of weeks before coming into the Olympics. So they were the only team really to beat them for a long time, even in, a test training match, I suppose. So, they've got the ability to go, a long way into this tournament, but hopefully we can keep putting pressure on all around the pool and make them really doubt what they're doing. And we definitely can do this.
Yeah, well, Sunday night, women take on Hungary. Tonight, the men take on Hungary, and that is another massive one. Been a good chat, but let's just ruminate a little bit about Australia-Hungary tonight. Again, team that we have some really good games against.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's really interesting, I think, for the men. They've just really got to get one more win to guarantee them a position in the quarterfinal. So Hungary tonight is a massive ask. Like, could Hungary end up winning the gold medal? That'd certainly be in the calculations for that. And then, of course, they have Japan afterwards. And that game is going to be, again, just so busy, the just style of play that they have. But obviously, the boys are going to be super focused. They're going to believe that they can beat Hungary. And, if they continue with their outstanding shooting and just their defense has just been just outstanding, anything is possible.
Well, we've had 4 wins by the Sharks and the Stingers in a row. So that's, as I said, 4 days of Christmas. Excuse me, frog in the throat. 4 days of Christmas. We'll get another one hopefully tonight.
A frog in the throat. Sorry, was that an intentional pun there?
Oh, well, I'm wearing my Frigid Frogs top, so yeah.
Oh, it wasn't the France.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. That one too.
You're clever. See, so many.
Great chat, Deb, and we'll see you for our next episode after Australia defeat Hungary in the men.
Yeah, looking forward to that too. All right, go Aussie.